Hello, in this video I'll be giving you guys my thoughts on the last 15 movies I've watched. So yeah, for those who might not know, I've been making a list of all the movies that I've watched since COVID started, and right now I've seen 376 movies since COVID started. So yeah, definitely a lot of movies, and I'm not sure how long I'm going to go with this list thing, but whenever I feel like ending it, I'll end it, I guess. But yeah, again, we're going to be talking about the last 15 movies, so let's go ahead and get into it. First one I'm going to talk about is Spider-Man No Way Home. And this is the reissue that comes with an extra 10 or 11 minutes or something like that, where you get some extra or extended scenes. And after watching this, I still think No Way Home has Tom Holland's best performance as Spider-Man, and also it's of course great to see all three Spider-Man together. And also, this movie also made me love Andrew Garfield even more as Spider-Man, and I enjoyed him as Spider-Man in the two movies he did too. I actually dig the first one. It has some issues, but still I did like the first Amazing Spider-Man. But Amazing Spider-Man 2, I did have some issues with, and I do think it's probably the weakest of all the live-action Spider-Man movies. But again, with saying that, it does have some positives, such as, of course, Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. But yeah, No Way Home, still a great movie. But next, we're going to go ahead and move on to Samaritan, and this is a Sylvester Stallone movie that recently came out, and overall, I liked it but didn't love it. I remember hearing some other people saying that's kind of a missed opportunity, or that this movie or its concept is kind of a missed opportunity in terms of execution, and I pretty much agree. I think they could have done better with this. I mean, overall, doing a superhero movie outside of DC or Marvel or anything like that, or outside of a universe, could have done something interesting with this, but overall, they did kind of miss the mark a little bit. But still, even with saying that, overall, I thought the movie was just kind of at least decent. But now, is this a movie I'd watch over and over? I'll admit, probably not. But for what it is, again, overall, a decent movie. But next, we're going to go ahead and move on to the movie X. And if you've seen my top 5 movies video of 2022, then you'll know that I really love this movie. Definitely, again, one of my favorite movies of the year. I mean, it's technically a slasher movie, a horror movie, of course, and it's basically about this group of younger people renting out this house that this old couple owns, and this group of young people at this house that they're renting they are filming some kind of porno film, and the wife of the older couple sees this, and then things start to go downhill from there. I'll just leave it at that, but definitely check out this movie if you haven't seen it, especially if you like horror, slashers, or anything like that, thrillers or whatever. Definitely check out this movie. But next movie here we're going to talk about is the movie Men. Interesting. Probably another movie for me that came out this year that I probably wouldn't watch again or watch over and over, but for what it was interesting. You can maybe call this movie also horror, but I don't know. I remember seeing some people bashing it. I mean, reviews or opinions on this movie have been kind of mixed a little bit. For me, I don't think it's bad. Overall, I thought it was just decent. But I think what saves this movie is definitely the central character. But next movie we're going to talk about is Clerks 3. Definitely one of my favorite movies of the year. I really enjoyed it. Now, I will say this, not as funny as the first two, I will admit that, but there is some funny moments though in the movie. But I think the dark / more emotional aspects of the movie, I think, kind of make up for the lack of funniness. I mean, of course, what's funny and not funny is going to depend on the person, depend on the individual. But again, I think the darker, more emotional stuff in this movie, I think overall worked. And I know some fans weren't really into that, but for me, I think it worked in the movie. But yeah, Clerks 3, really enjoyed Clerks 3. Overall, solid Clerks sequel. Next, we're going to go ahead and move on to the movie Midsummer, and this is one of those more artsy-fartsy horror type of movies, you could say. And Florence Pugh, one of the main characters, or one of the key characters in the movie, her performance is definitely really strong in this movie. Definitely one of the highlights of the movie too. And overall, it's pretty good, but it's probably not a movie I'd watch again or watch over and over. But again, for what it was definitely worth seeing. But next, we're going to go ahead and move on to a movie that definitely had a lot of hype, or at least definitely got a lot of praise when it came out. And that movie is Hereditary. And some people saying it's one of the best horror movies of all time. And overall, I thought it was pretty good. I like it. I dug it, but do I think it's maybe a tad overhyped? Honestly, a little bit, yeah. But at the same time, I do understand the hype. I do understand the praise. But yeah, overall, a pretty good movie. A pretty good horror movie. Especially for when it comes to the modern era of horror. This is actually pretty dang good. But next, we're going to go ahead and move on to the movie Pearl, which is a prequel to the movie X. And this is another movie that could be one of my favorite movies of the year. Probably not my top 5, but I know it would at least be in my top 10, so can't go wrong with that. Pearl, definitely a really good prequel. Now, prequels in general can be very hit or miss, because with prequels, they'll sometimes answer questions that you don't need answers to, or it's better to just leave it alone, or it's answering questions that you never asked or cared to ask, or you could say. And sometimes prequels can be predictable too, but in this case, Pearl, pretty good prequel and definitely worth checking out. But of course, check out X first, at least in my. No, I mean, you could do it the other way maybe, but I'd say check out X first. But Pearl, definitely really good. But next, we're going to go ahead and move on to a Sylvester Stallone movie, one of the older ones, and that is Nighthawks. So this movie has Sylvester Stallone and Billy D. Williams teaming up to take down Rutger Hauer, who is the villain or the bad guy in this movie. And overall, it was a pretty enjoyable movie. I really dug the performance, especially Rutger Hauer. That guy can definitely play a really good villain, and he did that again with the next movie we're going to talk about, and that is The Hitcher. And yeah, this movie kind of underrated, and I do know that there was a sequel to this, and there was also a reboot or a remake or whatever, but I refuse to check those out because I heard they're kind of poopy. But yeah, The Hitcher, again, pretty underrated, and overall, definitely a movie worth checking out if you haven't seen it, especially for Rutger Hauer's performance alone. I mean, that guy, again, definitely can play a really good villain or bad guy. The next movie we're going to talk about is I See You, and this is another Sylvester Stallone movie. This came out, if I remember correctly, in the early 2000s, and critically it did pretty bad, and also commercially didn't do fairly well either. I mean, but I don't think this movie is that bad. Now, it's not great, but overall I thought it was decent. I mean, you have Sylvester Stallone, and you also have some guy that's killing people, like taking their eyes out or poking them out or something like that. And overall, again, kind of a cool movie. Again, won't go down as one of Sylvester Stallone's best, but still, I'd say we're checking out just to see what you're in for, see if you like it or not. But overall, for I See You, I thought it was decent. But next, we're going to go ahead and move on to Jeepers Creepers. So yeah, first time seeing this, and I'm not going to lie, I really enjoyed Jeepers Creepers. I mean, say what you will about Victor Salva, who's of course the director. I mean, do I think he did his time? Hell no. I think I've heard he's done, like, I don't know, 15 or 13 months, stuff like that. I've heard different things about that, but in my opinion, he definitely hasn't done his time. I think he deserves more time for what he did. But basically what he did to get in jail is, well, for those who don't know, is that on the set of I believe his first movie, Clown House, he got a little bit naughty with an underage boy or an underage guy, and think the kid was like, I don't know, 12. I can't remember, but I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, definitely a guy that, in my opinion, deserves more jail time, and definitely got a bit too easy. But still, Jeepers Creepers, I still enjoyed that movie. And then next movie is Jeepers Creepers 2, and I actually enjoyed the sequel. Not as good as the first one, but when it comes to the franchise, or at least the ones I've seen so far, this is probably the second best. I've seen the first three. I know there is a reboot or a remake or whatever. I haven't seen that, but I don't know if I even want to check it out. I mean, I know that it has a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, and I see a lot of people are hating on it, so it's kind of like, I don't know if I want to give it a chance. But Jeepers Creepers 2, pretty good, I'd say. Pretty enjoyable. And then we get to Jeepers Creepers 3, which, wow, it's pretty bad. I mean, it has some positives. I mean, it has its moments that I don't mind, but overall, it's a pretty bad movie. But next, we're going to go ahead and move on to the movie Wrong Turn. So yeah, another first-time viewing, and yeah, I actually enjoyed this one also. I mean, it's not going to go down as one of the best horror movies or anything, or one of the best slashers, whatever you want to categorize it as, but for what it was, I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, I even liked the couple. I mean, they grew on me as the movie went on, and you really wanted them to stay alive or make it to the end. But also, Eliza Dushku's character, I thought was definitely one of the strongest characters in the movie. And also the guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but he's the one that survived at the end of the movie. I mean, I really enjoyed his character. And he also kind of looks like Kevin Costner a little bit, I'd say. A young Kevin Costner, of course. But yeah, again, Wrong Turn, pretty good. I definitely enjoyed it. Fairly short, too. And also, in the credits, you do hear a Brick and Benjamin song, so that's also pretty cool. But yeah, and I am aware that there is like 5 or 6 sequels or something like that. Something ridiculous like that. I mean, and I know that none of them have really any connection to the first one. At least that's what I think. Or I could be totally wrong about that, but either way, I don't really have much interest in checking out the sequels. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the final movie here for this video, and that is Werewolf by Night. So this was a TV movie special thing that Marvel did recently, and it was in black and white, and I'll admit, going into it, I didn't have a whole lot of interest, but still I wanted to check it out just because it was Marvel, just for really only that reason alone. And I'll admit, during the first, 10 or 15 minutes or so, I wasn't really feeling it. I thought it was just alright, but it wasn't really grabbing me. But once they started going on the search for this creature or whatever, that's when I started really getting into it, really getting into the main character, the main guy, and the actress, the female character. I'm blanking out on the actress's name and her character's name also, but she was also pretty good in the movie too. But I think the movie got even better and better as the movie went on, and overall, pretty solid movie from Marvel. I was actually surprised by how much I enjoyed it. Again, it might not grab you right at the start of the movie. I mean, of course, it'll depend on the person, but for me, it didn't really grab me at first. But again, it got better as the movie went on, in my opinion. But Werewolf by Night, pretty solid. Definitely worth checking out if you're a Marvel fan. But yeah, those are my thoughts on the last 15 movies I've watched. Let me know your thoughts on these movies. If you've seen any of these, let me know which ones you've seen or haven't seen, and all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and like, subscribe. Have a nice day, and take care.